What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be installing the DCS-12000 and replacing the DC-6000 on the 125 gallon reef tank. Now I'm not sure if I have to make any cuts on the manifold or the return line yet. I really won't know until I actually attempt to install this pump in the return section. But what we got to do first is go ahead and get the 1.5 inch output down to 3/4 inch. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Alright guys, just like the DC-6000, I had to go to Home Depot and pick up a couple adapters to actually get it to 3/4 inch output for the return line. Now what I needed to get was the 1 1/2 inch screw to the 1 inch slip. Now the 1 inch slip, once that goes down in there, goes to a screw which is 3/4 inch, and then the 3/4 inch goes to a slip. Now that's what I like to use to set everything up. We just got to connect all those fittings together and then connect it to the pump. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and prime our first piece. A little bit of a snug fit, but it should be fine. It's not pretty, but it works. You definitely need the glue to get it in there all the way. It's definitely a tight fit. Okay, let's do our last fitting here. Since it's a screw, we're going to use some Teflon tape. And we're going to get a pair of pliers and finish screwing that tight. Alright, now that everything's on there good and tight, we're just going to go ahead and add this piece to the pump itself. Grab some Teflon tape. You got to be careful, you don't want to crank on this pump or crank down on the actual fitting itself. Just get it snug. It doesn't need to be perfect. As long as it's not, shooting water out the side, you're going to be fine. That's good. Don't need to go any tighter than that. It's definitely on there. I'm just going to take off the excess Teflon tape and then we'll be good to go. Alright guys, we're here at the reef tank, so we're going to go ahead and cut the power to the DC-6000. At the same time, I'm going to cut the flow from the return section and the return line in hopes that I keep most of the water actually in the display tank. So let's go ahead and do that. Off. Cut that there. Then we have the ball valve here. There we go. Alright, so we do have the main, safety overflow. That's going to drain a little bit of water down, but that's not that big of a deal. All the water has stopped going into the main tank, and it's just going to drain down a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. Alright guys, I went ahead and disconnected the power and the controller to the DC-6000 just to kind of save some time on the video. Now the next step we have to do is remove the DC-6000 from the return section. Now in order for this to fit through the little hole that I have set for it, I have to take the screen off first and then disconnect the check valve. So let's go ahead and do that. The screen just screws off here. Alright, it took a little while. Alright, now we're going to do the check valve. We're going to do the top part of it. Alright, should free up the pump. Get around the dosing holder. Alright, water out of there. All right. Clean that. Looks like I lost the bottom of the, there we go. Okay, so let's get into seeing if the other one needs to be adjusted. What's up, guys? Before I do a test fit, I want to do a side-by-side comparison between the two pumps. Now, they're relatively the same size when it comes to thickness, but length, the DCS-12000 is about a ½ an inch longer. It shouldn't make too big of a deal on the plumbing here, but we'll find out here in about 5 seconds when I try to fit this one in there to see how it lines up. So let's get into that. All right, guys, so I'm actually going to cut off the bottom of this check valve here. I'm going to leave enough so Mike can put a coupling on there so he can connect his own check valve. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off right here. All right, so that leaves enough room for him to connect it to his system. All right, so I have the pump sitting in the reservoir and I have pretty much everything connected. I just have a little bit of a gap that I have to cover. So this is the top of the manifold that goes in there. Check valve, then down into the water where the pump is. Now you see here there's a little bit of a gap that I have to bridge, but it lines up good. It's gonna fit fine. It's a little snug, but it's definitely not worth cutting the manifold apart or the return line. It's gonna fit. All right, so I'm just gonna bridge that gap and we'll come right back. All right, guys, real quick, I'm just going to explain how I went ahead and bridged the gap between the return line and the new pump. Now, this was the original bottom of the check valve. Remember, there was a little gap in between here. What I did is I just cut this shorter, added a coupling, and then added an additional piece, and then just did a little test fit. Everything's good to go. I just got the PVC it together, and then we're ready to put it back in the tank. All right, the new pump is in the return section. Everything fits great. We're just going to go ahead and finish screwing on the protective screen here, and then we're going to go ahead and wire it all up and give it a test. Definitely love the screen. I have some snails that just love hanging out in the return section. There we go. It's good to go. So let's go ahead and get into wiring everything up and then get it started. All right, so I already went ahead and connected the apex to the power adapter, ran it behind the sump, came out here because this is where we're going to put our pump controller. I also went ahead and ran the pump itself behind the sump, came out here. We're going to connect it as well. So let's go ahead and connect our actual pump controller. We're going to use the double-sided tape here, put it on the back, and then connect it over there. Go ahead and take a piece off. Alrighty. Connect it to the back. Take off the other white side. Looks good. Stay there for now. Go ahead and connect the Jebao pump itself. Probably could just connect this to the apex instead of running the controller, but we'll leave it like this for now. Let's tuck those wires back behind there. Go ahead and connect the power. All right. I'm actually going to run this. That's my salinity probe. I'd rather keep the power off of that. All right, that's good to go. So I just got to turn on the apex and we'll see how it works. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and do the test on the main display. One quick note, I do have the manifold turned off just because I have to reconnect the biopellet reactor, which I'll do after I test the main display. Everything's connected. Make sure you open up your return lines again and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and turn on the main pump. Click on here. It's only on one. As you can see, it's just the one light. We'll wait for it to speed up a little bit. All right, I just put the returns back down in the water. All right, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. It's on 4 right now. The only problem is once you get more flow going through the system, you have to add more water to the actual sump itself. Now, I'm not going to add fresh water because I don't want to mess up the salinity. So if it starts pulling too much water out, I'm going to go ahead and make up a batch of salt water and put it in there to compensate for the amount that's being taken out of the sump itself. So right now it's on 4. It's winding up a little bit still. It's looking good so far. Turn it up a little bit more. It's on 6. Skimmer should kick back on here in a second. There we go. And then the auto top off is going to end up kicking. I'm going to back it off a little bit. All right. And there we go. It's actually coming out pretty good. You can see over here. All right, I'm just going to do a couple tweaks here, mess around with a couple things. I'm going to make up that salt water real quick because I have a feeling I'm going to need it. And then we'll come back and reconnect the biopellet reactor. All right, guys. Hopefully you can hear me over the overflow. It's kind of loud right now. I'm not going to make any adjustments to it until I get the biopellet reactor connected to the manifold and at the flow rate that I want. And then I'll dial down the overflow itself to make it so it's silent. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and reconnect the biopellet reactor. Go ahead and just cut this line here. All right, so that's the return there. That should be fine. Let me just add this right here. I'll just put it back on here real quick. It's a little bit of a drip, but it's not that big of a deal. Just going to disconnect the pump itself. Alright. Alright, so I'm actually going to take this opportunity to replace this piping. It's been a little while since I actually replaced the inlet piping, so I'm just going to do that now. I'm going to go ahead and just loosen this up a little bit. Make the cut on the zip tie. Pull that off. Go ahead and cut the pipe itself. Alright. Alright, so we're going to add this new pipe to the manifold. Alright, it's a snug fit. Let's see where we want this to go. Seems to be good. So we make our cut. Alright, we're going to connect it to the biopellet reactor. It's good to go. Make sure the return is on there. Alright, so let's go ahead and give it a test. Okay, the moment of truth. I'm going to turn on the manifold and we're going to see how it works. Keep this off for now. Let everything steady out a little bit. Go ahead and turn the biopellet reactor on slowly. All right, we're going to turn up the main pump a little bit. 6, 7. 8. 9. 'Turn it all the way up to 10. And dial back the actual main display a little bit. Send more water through the reservoir. That's much better than it was, that's for sure. Looks good. I just got to make a couple of tweaks. Gonna just dial a few things in when it comes to the sound of the overflow, and we should be good to go. I'm definitely happy with it. It's all the way up right now. That just shows you how much flow that reactor actually takes to move. It's crazy. All right, anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know. And of course, I'll see you next time. Peace.